This is a WCBS Conversation. I'm Tom Kaminsky, happy to be here out of the helicopter on the ground for this WCBS Conversation. Today, we're talking with two people. They are part of the lung transplant project at Columbia University Medical Center in New York City. We have Jerry Cahill, a cystic fibrosis patient and advocate, Director of Education for the Boomer Esiason Foundation. Jerry is himself a double lung transplant recipient. And Victor Fink, who is a lung transplant recipient as well, and president and founder of the Lung Transplant Project. Thank you both for being here today. Now, in full disclosure, my wife, Lynn, who is a cystic fibrosis patient, received a double lung transplant at CUMC this past summer. She is in the audience today watching and free of an oxygen tank for the first time in many years, able to be part of life again. And that's why this is so important to us.
I had a transplant 5.5 years ago. 3 months post-transplant, I ran a 10K with the Boomer Esiason Foundation, and I've just been relentless in life and keep going.
Well, while Jerry had cystic fibrosis, I had pulmonary fibrosis. When I first got the disease, they said, well, the only way that you can live past when your lungs are fully scarred over is a lung transplant. And I said, I don't even think that exists. So my wife said, forget it, we're not doing that. But as we did our homework, we said, wow, this is the only way out. And while it's not a cure, Jerry and I have both received lung transplant. It does not cure the disease. What it does is it extends our lives. So we've both been lucky guys in that we have this wonderful life extension. When your lungs are completely shut down and you're on the verge of death, that's when you first go on the waiting list, and then you start the first wait to see if you're going to get a lung.
What's it like to be on the list?
Well, being on the list is it's a roller coaster ride, and it's a wait, and you have to, the best thing to do is to stay active and go about your life as best you can. And the stronger you are going into the surgery, the quicker you'll recover.
What's fascinating, and I think Jerry brings it out, is that he did 5 dry runs. Well, only 1 out of every 6 lungs is transplantable. So you think you're getting a lung, somebody makes the donation, but you go through all these dry runs where when they get you in the operating room, they bring the lung, they fly in the lung from somewhere, and then they check the lung out. Oh, it has a little pneumonia in it, has something a little wrong. So that's why there are so many dry runs, is that they will only transplant perfect lungs. And Columbia University Medical Center, where both of us were transplanted, has the highest success rate in the country, which puts us in the world. The other fascinating statistic is that 20% of us patients die on the waiting list. So, you know, it sounds like you're just waiting. No, you're dying also. So a lot of people just never get there. And it's an incredible thing to think that you're waiting, but, you know, you may not make it. So, but it's a miracle. It's fantastic that they could do this, and I'm thrilled, you know, to have somebody else's left lung breathing in my body.
That's part of what the Lung Transplant Project is an attempt to do, raising awareness, tackling some of these challenges. And one of the things that shocked me when my wife and I started this process is the fact that New York ranks almost at the bottom in terms of registered organ donors, 49th out of 50 states.
Well, certainly there are not enough donors, and it's amazing. New York, the most progressive, or what we think of as one of the most progressive states in the country, has the second worst organ donation list anywhere. So I think it's because maybe at 18, when you go do your driver's license, you think, I got to make a decision then. But the reality is we can make that decision any point in our lives. And there are 2 websites that you can go to and just even set yourself up as a transplant patient today, so that if you should pass away, be in an accident, something happens, that you can donate your organs. So, and those would be organize.org,
And you can go on to Live On New York.
Right, that's the other one.
That's,
Thanks, Jerry.
another.
Now, the research, the lung transplant project also is very heavily involved in the research of this, of ways to try to improve that. So tell me a little bit about some of the progress that's been made there in terms of the research and ways to get these numbers up and ways to have these things improve.
Well, that's what Jerry and I really support, and we do a lot of our fundraising for, is to support the research. Because while Columbia has some of the highest and best statistics for transplant, it also has the best research department in the country. There are over 100 scientists up there at Columbia today working hard to crack the code on transplant. And the issue that I don't know if we've been clear about is that a lung transplant is, we swap diseases, Jerry and I. We traded one disease for another disease, because when you receive somebody else's lung, the only way your body will accept it is if they take out your immune system. So we have no immune systems, and that leaves us open to every infection. Somebody sneezes in a room, we could be in bed for the next 3 months. We're open to fungal infections, bacterial infections, viral infections. So that's why the average lung transplant patient only lives 5 years. Because of the rejection and infection, we're open to a lot of cancer. So the research that they're working on is ways to trick the body into thinking that the lung belongs. It's this immunotherapy so that the body believes that the lung is not a foreign body and it accepts it. And then guys like Jerry and I don't have to be on rejection medicine, and that stops the infection. And then it's an operation like any other operation. And it's not, you know, the two of us over here, life after transplant is no walk in the park.
Now, if people want to find out more, how can people find out more about this? How can they donate to the research? Where would they go? Where would they find that?
Well, we have a lovely website. It's the lungtransplantproject.org. And they can find all the information about the scientific work being done. Jerry's on the website, all of our other patients, and you can really get to see more of the story. And, you know, besides those diseases, it's usually not for smokers, which most people said, oh, you must have been a smoker. Well, most of the smokers get cancer. You can't use a lung transplant for cancer. It's only for diseases like we have of the scarring of the lungs. So, so it's these kinds of emphysema, COPD, cystic fibrosis. Those are the patients of lung transplant. And our website, lungtransplantproject.org, is really where you can get all the information. Columbia also has a wonderful website with a lot of information on it.
And it's really about education. We need to educate a lot more people, whether it's, you know, about cystic fibrosis or it's about getting a lung transplant. So it's education and making people aware. So there is more people out there donating their organs that are organ donors. That's probably one of the most important things, and that's available on the Lung Transplant Project. It's available at the Boomer Esiason Foundation site. So it's really important to make people aware of what's going on. So it's really not the transplant that's going to kill you. It's really after that, it's, you know, the anti-rejection drugs are where all the issues begin. So at the Lung Transplant Project, we're working there to clean up that whole area with the research so that people that get a transplant, they don't have to deal with the anti-rejection issues, which are really a big problem.
Just a final question for both of you. What's it like to have a new life?
Well, to have a new life, it's a gift. You know, I'm very thankful to my donor every day. I mean, I think about the donor every day, and I'm able to really give back. You know, it's important for me to kind of pay it forward and give back. So I'm doing that, and we're doing a lot of great programs to create awareness. And
I think we both appreciate life so much, and try to make the most of every day that we have. And while we're open to so much infection and stuff, we really try to get all the joy out of life that we can. And the two of us volunteer a lot of our time just to give back and show our thanks for this amazing miracle lung. 20 years ago, we wouldn't be sitting here today. So we're excited, and we'd like to be sitting here a lot longer. So we hope the research is successful, so that your lovely wife and transplant patients around the world could breathe a little easier.
Victor Fink, Jerry Cahill, thank you very much for joining me. And more information can be found at their website, lungtransplantproject.org. I'm Tom Kaminsky. Thank you for joining me in this WCBS conversation.